I am Kelly Cassidy. I am state representative of the 14th district, but also Democratic committee person of the 49th Ward. And that's where you are right now. You're in the Democratic Party of the 49th Ward headquarters that we share because we do things a little bit different up here. So we share this with Alderwoman Maria Haddon. We co-host so much of our work with the independent political organization in our ward, Network 49. Sometimes it feels pretty fluid between the two groups, and it's just testament to the nature of this community and the way that we like to work, that we're able to work together as a Democratic Party organization alongside the independent precinct organization. And I will tell you that among the many, many things that my fellow committee people think are weird about me, that's the thing they think is the weirdest. So that might tell you a little bit about where the Cook County Democratic Party is currently, but it's getting better. I've actually been the committee person now for a few years, and when I came in, I was one of the only independent-leaning committee people in the space, and things have gotten a lot better. There's a lot more questioning of why we've always done things the way we've done them. There's a lot more space for candidates that come from non-traditional paths, and that makes me very happy to see. It is still an established party organization, and sometimes things are challenging, but working within that structure to try to bring some change has been pretty gratifying. In fact, this year I was elevated to a committee chairmanship, so I chair the county-wide slating committee. I mean, there's a woo there, but there's also a but that also speaks to the way Chair Preckwinkle is attempting to bring new thoughts and new ideas into the county party. Obviously, so is everybody here from this area, from the 49th Ward, other than Ava? Yeah. Edgewater, okay. You're very welcome. You're part of the 14th district, but you're also part of the larger family up here of our really amazing network of progressive political organizing that happens up on the north side. So thank you for being here. I walked away with that list. So Ava, will you just get up and introduce yourself, because you appear to be the only candidate here. So I'm gonna make it easy for you. Sarah's here. Oh, Jesus! The only visiting candidate.
The homegrown candidate.
Exactly.
Hi everybody, my name's Ava George Stewart. I really don't think I need this. Do I?
Use it anyway.
Yes.
Oh, right. People who are not in the physical space. Evening everyone, my name's Ava George Stewart. I bring greetings from the 27th Ward, aka Near North, aka O-Town, aka formerly and lovingly Cassidy. I am a candidate for a countywide circuit court judge. I hope to have your support. I intend to be on the ballot. I look forward to seeing you again and talking to you. But you've got an amazing lot of important work to do here. This is how democracy works, and it's really nice to see such a full room, like the day after, the second work day after the holiday weekend. It's really inspiring to see you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for participating in the process. Yes, I anticipate you will be getting signatures from me. That's the plan. So thank you.
Thank you, Ava. And now I'm going to not be forgetting the family members here.
Hi folks, I'm Sarah Burry. I'm running for the 2-year for the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. I'm an attorney. I also have a master's degree in global environmental politics. I'm running to protect the environment. I'm running to prevent flooding in our basements and streets. And also I'm running to make the MWRD a more accessible agency for people to participate in, because the government shouldn't be making decisions about us without us. So that's why I'm running. I'm delighted that you're all gonna learn about petitions. So hopefully when the time comes in a couple of weeks, you're gonna be circulating mine. Okay, well, welcome. This is my home, both because I'm a member of the Democratic Party, the 49th Ward, and also on the board of Network 49, so doubly my home, and I'm happy to welcome you to our home.
And I am going to get into, because she said something really very, very specific that's part of why we're here. She's running for a 2-year term because there are multiple vacancies on the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, and we will get to that.
My name's Ed Mullen. I live here in the 49th Ward also on Pratt and the Lake. You guys ignore us for 8 months of the year, and then 4 months of the year you can't get enough of us. And I've been here for about 10 years, 11 years.
He's also part of the program. He is an election attorney here, practicing here in Cook County. Well, not just in Cook County, here in Illinois. We'll just say Illinois. Oh,
1142.
You're doing some Rogers Park geography. So, as I mentioned, I am also a state representative. So there are multiple layers that are going to be on the ballot this cycle. So as we walk into the 2026 elections, in addition, you're hearing about the U.S. Senate vacancy, you're hearing about the amazing sliding tile puzzle that is our congressional delegation, but also every state rep is going to be on the ballot. A third of the Senate will be on the ballot. The Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, a portion of that board is up every cycle, so they're on a rotation similar to the Senate. We've got the judicial races. I heard there's now an appellate court vacancy that just popped.
Justice Hoffman passed,
Oh my goodness.
but he'd been on the appellate bench, I think, for over 30 years.
Oh wow, wow.
On the appellate.
On the appellate side. So that you very rarely get elected to the appellate bench when you're young, I think is the point being made there. So we've got a lot of folks that are going to be seeking to get on the ballot, seeking to win our support. One of the things that we as a ward organization have been known for, even prior to my becoming the committee person, the 49th Ward Dems were among the original membership-driven organizations. Most of the other ward organizations, especially in the way back, the committee person made the decision. There was no input from anyone. It was just a one-man show. But here in the 49th Ward, for decades, we've been doing this in a membership-driven way. It's spread from here. Other wards have done it. 48 has been membership-driven for probably the better part of the last 20 years, I think. And so you're seeing more and more of it. One thing that does distinguish us, a lot of the organizations that do membership-based votes have a vote tabulation system that still has the committeeman having a thumb on the scale. I have one vote. I have been overridden, and it makes me proud when that happens. We as an organization have about a 50-50 record in terms of whether we go along with the entire county slate. They've gotten better at slate making, so we've gotten better at supporting the slate. But it is very much the thing that makes us a little bit different. We don't do our endorsements right now. As committee person, I'm getting ready to go into slating next week. The candidates are going to come and present before us, and then we will haggle and figure out what the slate looks like. We'll figure out who's going to be the alternates, and that will be the Cook County slate. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the 49th Ward slate, because we wait until people make the ballot and actually have the opportunity to see how they campaign and see who they really are. So we will do our endorsement session sometime around January. It depends on how long it takes for the ballot to get set. We've moved up petitioning this year in the hopes of not having people like Ed and all of our teams have to sit in the Board of Elections over Christmas to handle ballot challenges. But we're gonna get to those specifics real soon. In August, we are going to start passing petitions. Every office has a different number of signatures they have to collect, and they have to be from registered voters in your district, or whatever your jurisdiction is. Illinois does this just stupid, honestly. I believe if you want to run for office, you prove that you have the qualifications, the statutory requirements. You live in the district. If it's a judicial seat, you're an attorney. The Attorney General, you're an attorney, right? If you have those qualifications, you meet the requirements, you sign an affidavit, and you're on the ballot. That's how I feel it should be done. I am not the supreme being, so I don't get to make that the case. But one of the things we do is make sure that we, as an organization, are open in our process of helping people get on the ballot. And that does make us stand out a little bit. But Illinois' ballot access law is designed to keep people like Ed employed. Because it is full of tripwires. And Ed's got some great stories I'm sure to share.
You've written them.
Now, you know how these laws get written in Springfield. So election law is a particular area of interesting approaches in Springfield, and it's something that still lingers after Madigan. The election bills, there's one omnibus every year, and it comes through leadership. And so year on year.
There was one this year?
No, there wasn't, as it turns out. There was an attempt at one this year, and it was really terrible. So if you introduce individual bills on election issues, you may or may not get a subject matter hearing, and you may or may not get into the final package. So it's this weird Hunger Games setup. So making changes to these processes has been really hard. We have made some changes that have made it better. We've reduced some of the signature requirements. We've sort of right-sized things. There's here's a fun anomaly. So to get on the ballot as a state representative, I needed a minimum of 500 signatures, or 400?
500.
500.
You needed 400 during COVID.
During COVID, yeah. It's 500 now. A minimum of 500 signatures. Back in the day, there was no maximum. And so people with big operations would just go out and get like 10,000 signatures and just smash this giant pile of paper on the table. We reduced that. There's now a maximum. We've taken out some of the tripwires, but not all of them. My point here is that Ed is here to explain the process so that I don't miss any tripwires. So,
Okay.
want to talk about petitions?
Sure. So I know a lot of the people in this room have a lot of experience with petitions, but we're still going to start at square one and go through how to circulate them, best practices. Just as background, I started doing this. A friend of mine was a candidate back in, I think, 2007 or 2008, and just asked me to go down to the Board of Elections and look at signatures for her. And 15, 20 years later, here I am doing it almost full-time election law. But what I learned is that a lot of people, particularly first-time candidates, get kicked off the ballot. During the school board elections last cycle, almost a third of the candidates that filed to run to be on the Chicago Board of Education were knocked off the ballot. So these are very important things to understand. August 5th is the first day for circulating petitions. You cannot and should not circulate any petition before August 5th. As Kelly said, that is early. It used to be around September 1st or September 5th that we would start circulating petitions, and they moved it up for 30 days. Now, Kelly nicely said that that was to give me Christmas off for the first time in 10 years, but that was not really the reason. The reason was that the objection process with people challenging petitions and trying to knock candidates off the ballot was starting to run into the process of early voting, because we've tried to make voting easier for voters and we've opened the ballot a lot earlier. So what that meant was that the objection process was overlapping into the early voting process, and in the past 3 or 4 cycles, there was not a single time that the Cook County and Chicago ballots were printed by the statutory deadline, because they were waiting for the courts to decide who was actually going to be on the ballot. So they moved it up, and so August 5th is the first day for circulating petitions. To file your petitions, there are different places you file them, but there's a whole week-long period to file them. So the period starts on October 27th, and it goes for 7 days till 5 o'clock on the Monday after that. What you're going to find is, whether it's Cook County or the State Board of Elections or wherever you file, there's going to be a line of people waiting at 8 o'clock or 8:30, whenever that election jurisdiction opens up, because people want to be first in line so that they can get better ballot placement. Everyone who shows up on the first day of filing goes into a lot, or at the first moment of filing, you have to be there the minute they open the door, goes into a lottery to see who's going to be first on the ballot. And there's a lot of people, especially with down ballot races, who believe that that has an impact on where you are. So when you're circulating petitions, you don't want to look at the last day as being your goal. You want to look at the first day as being your goal. And so that takes 7 days out of the 90-day period to circulate. So when you're thinking, okay, I need 3,000 petition signatures divided by 90 means I need whatever that number is per day, you really want to divide it by 83 to figure out how much that is. So Kelly also said there's a vast range in the number of signatures that are required. So she's required to file 500. For Ward Committeeperson,
Oh, that's where I was going with it.
which is for a smaller,
Yeah.
to represent a smaller number of people in an unpaid political position, she had to get over double that number of signatures. So there is no rhyme or reason to the number of signatures that are required. And the campaign that you're working on is obviously gonna figure out what that is. If you are running for the Illinois Supreme Court, not that there are any vacancies, but you need over 4,000 signatures. And if you go by the rule of thumb to get 3 times the minimum, you need 12,000 for that seat.
Sarah, how many signatures do you need?
About 6,000, so really 18,000.
Right. So what's interesting is, like, the governor needs less than someone running for the water reclamation district in greater Chicago.
Can you say more about that 3-to-1 ratio?
What?
The 3-to-1
So, yeah,
ratio?
so when you file petitions, you are gonna have a minimum number and you may have a maximum number. But you want to aim for getting 3 times the number of signatures that is required in most cases. That's the rule of thumb. The reason for that is that people are going to scour the petitions that you or your candidate files and see whether every individual signature that was signed is a valid signature. Sort of the last thing I was going to talk about, but I'll move it up to the front and see how this goes. So, bear with me. So, when you file your petitions, there is a program that a lot of candidates get called petitionreview.com software, and there are other programs as well, or there are just armies of people that go down to the Board of Elections and check the signatures against the official records. And what they do is, once you've filled out the petition, which you all should have a copy of that I passed around of Kelly's petition from a few years ago, they're gonna look at the signature, and they're going to look at the address, and they're gonna put that information into whatever system they're using and look up that voter and see whether that signature is valid or not. So the first thing that they're gonna do is try to find the person, because if they can't find the person at all, then they're gonna say they're not registered to vote. And they're gonna challenge it on that because they're not in the system. A lot of times people will also say the signature is not valid, which means the signature doesn't match what's on the file at the board, because they were not able to find evidence that this was a valid signature. So they object that they're not registered to vote, and they object that the signature is not valid. If they find the person, they check number 1 to make sure that they're registered at the exact address that's on the petition. If they're registered at a different address, it's not a valid signature. Then what they check is whether or not that residence address is in the district. So if someone who lives in I don't remember what your number is anymore.
14th?
So if someone who lives in the 13th representative district signs Kelly's petition, it's not valid because they don't live in Kelly's district. So the person is going to object and say that that signature is not valid because they do not live in the district of where the candidate is running. And so that signature is not valid. And so what I passed around to you as the third document is this, which is called an appendix recapitulation sheet. And this is what lawyers like me give to their candidates and what the candidates' workers fill out. And this shows you what people will object to. So there's one of these for every sheet of petition. And what someone will do is they'll go through line 1 on the petition and say, the signer's not registered at the address, or the signature is not genuine, or the person does not live in the district, the signature's incomplete, whatever objection they want. And so what you want to do when you're circulating the petition is make sure that none of these things are wrong with your signatures so that no one can object to them. and you can survive an objection. But because people are gonna sign your petition and they're not gonna know whether or not they're registered, or they're gonna think they started the process but they didn't finish it, or they think they live in the 13th district but they live in the 14th district, you wanna make sure that you have enough of a cushion so that when they go through, they do not get you below the minimum that you're required to get. That all make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
Chicago Politics Deep in the Weeds edition.
Right.
This is a good pause point. We have a candidate who came in and wants to, would you like to come introduce yourself real quick?
Michael Zink, I'm actually sitting judge. I'm going to be running again in March. I was appointed by the Supreme Court in January. I'm in actually start my sub-circuit runs from about Edgewater down to the Gold Coast. But Kelly's been fantastic and always love attending your events. So good to meet you all. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Ed, did you make that interview? Oh, yes, yeah, I did.
Okay, so one of the things that I was also thinking about when Kelly was talking was that what you're gonna find in the number of judges who are running countywide, which is the number of judges that we are going to be able to vote for in the Cook County slating process, is about half the number that it has been in the past, because we have gone from 15 sub-circuit, which are location-based judicial races, to 20 sub-circuits. And what that has done is, in the process of filling up the vacancies for the new judicial sub-circuits, we have fewer countywide vacancies and more sub-circuit vacancies. Currently, there is not a sub-circuit vacancy for the 9th sub-circuit, which is what overlaps with Rogers Park. So right now, there is not a vacancy. There is a rumor that there is a potential retirement that would open a vacancy in the 9th sub-circuit, but for now, the only judges that will be voting for here in the 49th ward are going to be the countywide judges. So I want to talk a little bit about the petition process. I passed around two things. One is a petition circulation guidelines. If you are a candidate, I give this out to every single person who is circulating petitions for me. One of the great things to do is tape this to the clipboard so that they always have it with them to refer to if they have any questions. I'm going to go through these very quickly because I want to point out some things that people do wrong. So first of all, anyone who's 18 years of age and a U.S. citizen can circulate petitions. They don't have to live in the district. They don't have to be registered to vote. Anyone U.S. citizen, 18 years of age. Illinois expanded the access for people to circulate petitions by allowing 17-year-olds to circulate petitions as long as they're going to be eligible to vote in the next election. But they have to actually be registered. Not 18-year-olds, but anyone who is 17 actually has to be registered to vote in order to circulate petitions. They don't need to be registered in the political subdivision. They just need to be registered in the state of Illinois. So you have a petition that's going to be handed to you by the campaign. The top of the petition is what we call the petition heading, and this says, we want this person to be on the ballot for this office at this election. What you see in Kelly's petition is that we've typed that whole heading out. There are some people who use forms from the State Board of Election and they handwrite or type in the information. If they do that, don't change anything that the campaign does. Because on the forms, not every blank always needs to be filled out. So sometimes a campaign leaves something blank on purpose because they're not in a district, or there's something that's not applicable to that particular race. So if there's a blank in the heading of your petition, that's probably on purpose, and leave it alone, okay? Don't do anything to the heading of the petition. The next part of the petition is where the voters are going to sign the petition for the candidate. Typically, there is a signature column, and that needs to be the voter signing in their own personal handwriting. Okay, you cannot sign for a voter. No one else can sign for a voter. You can't sign for your husband or wife or your kid. You can only sign for yourself. A person can only sign for one voter. The next column is the printed column, and this is optional. This is not legally required. Most candidates put it on there because they want to be able to check their own signatures and see who signed their petition, and a lot of times you can't read the signatures, so the only way to do that is to have the printed name. We will have petitions for the party. The party typically does not put the printed name column in there because they figure they're gonna have so many petition signatures, they don't need to know that to check their signatures, and it makes it easier for people to look up the signatures to potentially object. So if you see a petition that doesn't have a printed column, that's perfectly fine. And if your person who's signing your petition doesn't write their printed name, the signature is still valid. Sometimes you'll have people who sign in the printed column and print in the signature column. That's totally fine, as long as the signature's on the line. Then they need to put down their residence address and city, town, village. This should be where they are registered to vote and where they currently live, right? And those should be the same thing in order for it to be valid.
They need to make that space bigger.
Sorry?
They need to make that space bigger.
Believe it or not, these are the biggest spaces that petitions have. The other ones are so much worse.
We spent a lot of time making sure there's enough in there. So when you circulate a petition, there's only one circulator per petition. So there are 10, 15, 20 lines on the sheet. And you can have one person sign it and fill it out, and that's valid. You can have 7, you can have 10, you can have 20. It doesn't matter how many people do it. But you can only have one person circulate the sheet. So let's say you have Maureen goes out and she gets 5 signatures and she brings back a petition and there are 5 blank lines. Kelly can't then go out and fill out the other 5 lines, right? You gotta you gotta do the notarization at the bottom that I'm gonna talk about next. And you can't have 2 circulators on one petition, 1 circulator per petition. If you go out and get 5 one day, you can take the same petition sheet out and get 5 the next day, or 2 weeks later. That's totally fine as long as you only have one person doing it. Once you are finished with the signatures on the sheet, you're gonna get it notarized. You're gonna call Jen, you're gonna set up an appointment to come by her house, and I'm just kidding.
Actually, you'll just come here, we'll have people with notaries.
So the circulator affidavit is very important to be filled out right. So let's say I sign my signature and it doesn't look anything like what I signed my voter registration, and so they knock my signature off because they say it's not a genuine signature. You only lose that signature. You don't fill out the circulator affidavit right, every signature on that sheet is invalid. Okay? You gotta make sure the circulator affidavit is filled out correctly. In the upper left it says State of Illinois, County of. The county of is the county where the petition is notarized. Not where you live, it's not where the notary lives, it's where you physically are when the petition is notarized. Sometimes it'll be typed in because it's a Cook County candidate, so they've typed in Cook. But you're at your aunt's house in DuPage for dinner and she's a notary, so you ask her to notarize them, you cross off the Cook and you write in DuPage, the county where it's notarized. Then you put in the circulator's name and the circulator's address. This should be the current residence address of the circulator. Because the point of this is for people who are testing the validity of the petitions to find the circulator and make sure that the circulator did things right, or if they want to subpoena them. So it has to be the circulator's correct address. I got a aldermanic candidate on the ballot without any opponent because his opponent had someone use an address that he didn't live at to fill out 40 circulator affidavits. And the judge struck them all. And the candidate was off the ballot, and my client won without any opponent on the ballot because they put an address that they did not live at on the petition. You think, okay, well, how are people gonna know? There are candidates with money who are gonna go out and hire private investigators or have their volunteers go and knock on the doors and say, are you this person? Did you circulate this petition? And if the person answers the door and says, I have no idea who this person is, you're gonna get an objection that they don't live at that residence.
Now, this is super deep in the weeds, and none of y'all are gonna have to deal with this. This is mostly, like, even if you're doing petitions with us, we'll be on site with you.
Absolutely, but what my point is, you need to put your address on.
Yeah.
Am I going too long?
A little bit.
Okay, well, all right,
Yeah.
I love it, Ed.
sorry.
Bring us in the weeds, Ed.
Question.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead. I
So-
need a question.
Clarifying question. Does the circulator need to live in Illinois if they are over 18?
No. US citizen, 18.
Okay.
All right. So the last thing is that the circulator signs the petition always in front of a notary. And when you're in front of the notary, you want to make sure that the notary asks for your ID, even if they don't ask for it. You show it to them because you want to be able to testify if you ever get challenged that you showed the notary your ID and that the notary did it correctly. And so as someone who's circulating petitions, that's probably more than you need to know, but that's what you do need to know.
I'm going to talk a little bit about our process and what we're going to be kicking off. And I know you're going to have questions, and Ed will. Yes, Maureen.
Kelly, I would like you to return to the word slating,
Yes.
because that is also a word that a lot of people don't know the deep underlying meaning of.
Okay. So for 2 days next week, committee people will gather at the electrical IBEW headquarters on MLK and hear from candidates who are going to make their pitch for why they should be on the slate. And what that means is, Ed talked about how few judicial openings there are going to be this year. There's only 4 right now. There are somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,420 people trying to get on the bench in Cook County right now.
Whoa.
Is that the right number? Is that how many of y'all are running around?
7,000?
Probably like 20.
It's true. It's usually like 25 to 40 people who are making a run. It just sometimes feels like a much bigger crowd, especially when we've got so few. But we will also, so as the Cook County Democratic Party, we are going to slate, in other words, the endorsed candidate by the Cook County Party for everything from governor down through the state house to water rec and judges, and that will be the party slate. That is that's our endorsement process, and it's called a slate. As I mentioned, we do our own endorsement process here in 49. It sometimes lines up with the county slate, and sometimes it doesn't. And so, as I said earlier, we like to be engaged in getting folks on the ballot. We like to be engaged in being out in the field with candidates. This is how we get to know who really meets our levels for support, right? And so we do things a little differently up here. It's kind of nice being as dense as we are up here. In most places, most parts of the city and the state, the absolute rule is do your petitions door to door, and that is the best possible way to do it. How many people have ever canvassed? So similar to that, you would use the minivan and you would go door to door looking at who the registered voters are on your block and get them registered. That is still the gold standard for petitioning. And like when you see sheets, like when you're talking about the review process, when you see sheets where it's like the addresses are all over the place, you're like, oh, I'm gonna look closer at that. But when you see that they're in street order, you're like, all right, they put some work into this. That said, this area is a very high voter registration area, a very dense area with a very discrete footprint. So you can have a relative level of confidence at large gatherings here that the folks that you are seeking signatures from are actually in the district. So we actually, I think the honeypot of all honeypots for signatures in this area is the Glenwood Sunday Market.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
We're looking at one candidate right now amongst 5 or 6 other candidates.
No, we're right now we are watching people begin their process. By January, we might come down to one candidate.
Isn't the gentleman a candidate?
No, he's an election attorney.
I told you that.
He was explaining the process. Okay, so we will every Sunday have folks out at both ends of the farmers market and pass petitions for me, for Sarah, for
Is it this ward as well?
yes. And so we will be, and then we'll be joined by some of the county slate folks. They're always out there too, and it's a great place to pick up signatures. Other farmers markets in the area are good as well. Yes, David?
Talk about that this is during the primaries where we're really active.
Well, I haven't gotten there because we're still doing the petitions part, but I'm getting there. So as we get through this petition process, we get people on the ballot. As David's point is that the primaries are the races here.
What does it mean, petition?
Sir?
Sir.
A petition is something you have to get signed to get on the ballot. But let us keep going, okay?
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
I was wondering, what if someone signs a petition twice? They just want to make sure they signed it.
There's no penalty for that. There's no penalty for signing a petition twice. There's also no penalty for signing petitions in multiple candidates in a single race, although there used to be. And with city races, that is still a thing. In city races, you cannot sign for everybody in a race. In state races, you can.
But you should make sure that you don't sign a Republican petition and a Democratic petition. I mean, just make sure that when you sign a petition, that you only sign
one party
Democrats,
yeah.
Because if you sign for a Republican, then
that can invalidate your others.
Okay, so if someone accidentally does it for the wrong party and wants to fix it, it's not really, it's not an option.
Right. So, go ahead.
One other thing to clarify that is a common question alongside that is signing a petition is to help someone get access to the ballot as a candidate. You are not endorsing them. You are not required to vote for them.
And that's something that we say as we are circulating, right? This is, we talk about democracy as a verb here, right? And that is the most basic act of democracy, is helping somebody get access to the ballot. And so it's also why we make our petition parties and our petition events open. You don't have to be a slated candidate because, as I said, Cook County, the party is going to make their endorsements next week. We don't make ours till January.
I don't mean to be rude, but are we talking about the 49th ward, which is where we are right now?
We're talking about the 49th ward and the rest. Okay, I'm sorry, sir. Maybe we can have an offline conversation after so that.
Well, I don't have that much time. I don't think you do either, but I just want to know, what we're talking about.
We are talking about everybody that's going to be on the ballot in March. And we are the 49th Ward Democratic Organization.
This gentleman
he is not a candidate, sir. No, he is not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he is not a candidate.
Go back to January, and why January?
We wait until January until the ballot is set. So after all the petition challenges and everything are done, lots of people don't make the ballot. So some of these races that you're seeing, sir,
let her finish, please.
The 49th ward is a very powerful ward, and I don't think we get enough credit for what we do and what we request and ask for. And I don't know what to say about that.
Okay then.
All right then. So after the petition process is, or the petition challenge process is over, the ballot is set, and that's the point at which we do our candidate endorsement sessions. Mary?
Can we just confirm one more time that unless it's a race for a position in the city of Chicago government,
Yes.
any other governmental race, you can sign
For multiple
for
candidates
for
in a
the
single
same
race.
No.
As long as they're in the same party.
No.
That's why I wanted to.
Any,
No, you can.
Any independent or non-partisan, it's.
Oh, within the same party.
Right.
Yeah.
I was saying within the same party.
Okay.
You're
I meant within
worried
the
about
same
people
party,
signing
too.
Republicans. But within the same party, you can sign, so all 37 people that are running for the 9th Congressional District, you don't have to pick between them when they come up to you at the L stop. You can just sign.
Right. You can get their name on the ballot
Yep.
through your action and sign.
And that is, like, I would sign for my opponent. Like, I
wouldn't.
I know you wouldn't, and you would not recommend as my attorney that I do so, but. So one of the things that we've had a lot of success with are petition parties. So we gather at up on Jarvis Square or on Glenwood or at other areas, and invite candidates to come and put their petitions out. We'll have a couple of adult beverages, we'll hang out, people will get to meet each other, and you just walk around the table and you sign 20 petitions at once. It's like closing a mortgage, just over and over and over again. But it's not just an efficient and like pro-democracy way to approach things. It also makes it more fun, as Ed shared. Right, there's a lot of detail to this. But it doesn't mean it can't be a fun thing to do as well. So we like to bring people together in that way, and facilitate ballot access.
Right, and one other thing, you can drink and circulate and sign petitions at the same time. There is no law against that. There are some people who think there is, and who post on Facebook that we were violating that rule, but that rule does not exist.
That rule does not exist.
As long as you are competent.
I'm sorry, you just entered my world. Can you register voters in a bar?
Yes.
Okay, that used to not be the case. In the old days,
well,
where I come from.
Are you a deputy registrar, or are you just doing the voter?
Registering voters, whichever.
So
way
if you're a
you
deputy
choose.
registrar, there are more strict rules. But if you're just doing the voter registration forms and mailing them in, then that's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, my question had to do with the signer. The signer doesn't know this rule about signing on one party and the other unless he reads the fine print. So it doesn't matter for us. I mean,
well,
he does what he does.
It does matter a little bit. So you need to know this because people have said, like I've had people say, oh, I already signed so-and-so's petition, so I can't, because it used to be the law that you couldn't sign in multiple races. And so people have that still in the back of their heads, and so they might say, I can't sign your petition because I already signed Bob's.
I mean, that's if you go into a discussion with someone.
Oh, it happens immediately at the farmer's market.
Yeah,
Like
all the time.
Yeah, it really does. So it's really about, this is about being able to answer the question if somebody brings it up. So as we move beyond the petition process, which we're gonna have a lot of fun doing, then we'll move into the primary season. There are there's some pretty active races up here, but we've also, as a ward organization, been in contact with the McLean County Democrats. Happens to be the home of the nearest Republican congressman in Illinois, Darren LaHood. So we're working on some partnerships with them because some of us might like going down there and trying to flip that seat. This ward organization, this office, was the launch point for, and my OSS folks are gonna help me get this right, 25% of all the canvassers that went to Wisconsin for their Supreme Court race.
Let's just claim that.
20-25%, a lot.
That sounds reasonable.
We made a very real impact with Operation Swing State and with those Wisconsin races. It is. So there will be opportunities for folks to do what feeds their soul, right? If the 9th Congressional District is your jam, we're gonna have pathways into that race for you. If making Darren LaHood cry is your jam, join me on the way down I-55 because we'll do some work with them as well.
Bloomington Normal.
Yeah, Bloomington Normal
I know
area.
you got a lot to say, and it's good talking, but this ward is it means a lot to all of us.
It is a pretty magical place, absolutely, and that shows by this full room of folks who responded to how are we going to get through this next election poster, and here you are. So this is how we're going to get through it.
With that being said, I think we deserve a lot more attention and somebody listen to us because we have kept the community intact for a long time, and it wasn't easy. All right, so I don't know. That's all I know.
All right, gotcha. So and then as we move through through January and February and into March for the March 17th primary, we will be working constantly. We'll need election day volunteers to help us make sure that the election runs smoothly. We'll have people at the polling places helping voters get the information they need. And so we'll be doing regular canvasses both from here and on the road down to McLean County. So there's something for everyone, right? There's phone banking, there's text banking from your couch. There's phone banking from your couch. We'll do phone banking here as well. And so the goal here is to make sure there is something that everybody's heart can embrace. Katie.
Okay, you didn't mention the Senate well, you did mention 9th CD, but I'm just gonna say it in case people miss it. We've got the huge.
Yep, we have a U.S. Senate vacancy.
Huge opportunity
Yep.
this time, first time in 40 years for the Senate race, 25 years for the congressional.
Yep.
And what people might wanna know is that we will have a number of kinds of candidate forums.
We will
in our
absolutely,
board.
between now and that January point, there will be multiple opportunities to meet with candidates. We try to break them up because if a ward organization tried to do the entire ballot, you would be in Thornton Township until 10:30 p.m. last night with 5 people left in the audience. So what we try to do is we'll do the statewide, we'll do the judges. So we try to break it up a bit to make it a little bit more digestible for folks to get to know the folks. But all of these races are pretty crowded. Folks are sort of still looking to see where they're gonna go. If you watch as folks are jumping into the congressional races, those are creating vacancies in other spaces as well, or potential vacancies. So we're gonna see folks jumping into races at the last minute. We're gonna see potential appointments after the election. So this is gonna set in motion. I've not seen a ticket like this where we've got this much shift at once, I think, since I've been doing this work. We've got in the Senate race, we've got our lieutenant governor running, so now we're getting a new lieutenant governor candidate. We've got a member of Congress running, so she can't run for re-election, so there's a contested race primary for that seat. And that just kind of trickles and rolls from there. In the 9th CD, same thing. We've got a House member, so that means he can't run for re-election. So that means there'll be a race for the 13th district, the other half of this district. We've got a member of the Senate who is not up for re-election, who just declared today, who, if he were to win, that would set in motion another appointment process for that seat. So each thing has its next domino to fall. This election cycle is gonna have repercussions for a minute.
Can you talk a little bit about after the primary? The primaries are a prelude to what comes next.
Well, I mean, in this case, the primaries are a prelude to us spending even more time in Bloomington Normal and making Darren LaHood cry more, because that is really my goal. I want him to cry big in November. And I know that there are other county organizations and other ward organizations that are reaching out to other congressional seats as well to do the same thing, to be available in the way we did Operation Swing State, only just in state. Jeff? Good point. This brings us to the fun part. So, how can you get involved? So we've got some volunteer sign-up sheets here. Our action committee has been meeting weekly.
Hold your hand up if you're part of the action committee, Jeff, and Liz, and Eric, and whoever else is here.
So this crowd has been, first of all, brainstorming and putting together this event and future events, keeping our living room window up to date with ways that you can take action, and our website up to date with ways that you can take action, including our weekly rush hour visibility and resistance, where on Thursdays from 4 to 6 or 6:30, from 4 to 6, we're at Pratt and Ridge, and as I mentioned, that's where the party hardy people go, because you could be louder from 4 to 6 p.m. And then Friday mornings from 7:30 to 9-ish, we are at Greenleaf and Sheridan. I'm not saying we don't have a good time, but we're not banging on pots and pans.
Well, we were for a while, but then.
Yeah, we stopped that. But we did. So last week, in fact, we marked the 4th of July in a very special and honestly, like, battery charging way, because we put out a call to get even more people out than usual. We had probably 30-ish, it felt like.
Almost 30.
I didn't count, but it
Yeah,
felt.
about that.
And at some point, we decided to take what somebody that I've been working with on some of the trans healthcare bans has declared a loud walk. You know, if you don't have a permit for a march, you just have a loud walk. So we took a loud walk on Friday morning, and it was pretty awesome. And people, like, it might sound really silly, y'all, honestly. And for, who all has been out there on Friday mornings or Thursday afternoons?
It's great. It's a great time.
Getting honked at by CTA buses.
Yeah, how about when the police come by and go?
I know, that was the best. Yesterday, the cops came by, or Friday, the cops came by and they were hitting their little zit, 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 and they were all doing this with us. And it was like, well, that's a new one. You know, we have an unofficial count of how many Teslas honk. CTA is pretty much undefeated in their support. So that's been pretty impressive.
Streets and Sand is right there.
Streets and Sand is pretty good. Mixed bag on the various utilities.
It's a grading system.
It is. You know, Subaru's all in. Every Subaru honks. Teslas, you get a mixed bag for sure. So it is strangely satisfying and really regenerating. In particular, when I come home from Springfield, I really like being able to get out there on Friday morning and feel like a human again. So it has been a really fun thing. Katie said it's been 18 weeks that we've been doing it.
Actually, last week was the 16th.
Was 16? Oh, okay.
We'll be there on the 19th week.
We will. So,
Can I just say one thing?
yeah,
about
please
it?
do.
Mostly we started doing that because we were so incredibly upset about what was going on in DC and felt like we had to do something.
It's
So
very much in the category of do something.
It's really for us as much as anything, and it's also for the drivers who go by, who see us and honk, they also feel, oh, thank God, somebody's out there with a flag and a sign that says due process matters, or all the others. Melt ice, one of my favorites.
And we have signs. You don't have to feel like you have to be creative. We bring signs with us every
We make
week.
new signs, and people bring their own, or we have extras, and it's really great that our neighborhood has not one but 2 spots where this happens every single week and has for 3.5 months. Yay us.
And the number of people that, like, people walking their dogs who go and put their dog home and come back, or just say, I'm so glad to see
Stop
somebody
with their
doing
dog.
something. Some people stop with their dogs. But like yes, it is for us, but it's also been remarkable how many people have thanked us for making it clear that they're not the only ones feeling this way. Can I keep going through the sheet? So if you want to get involved with the action committee and come up with ideas like that, check there. Petition parties, or petition generally, it says petition parties, but petition volunteering generally, whether that is on your own, which we would get you turf and you could do your neighborhood, or coming to one of the farmers markets or any other events. And then voter registration, which is kind of the last part of what we're going to get to, but we'll come to it. Did I get what you wanted?
Can I add a point about
Yeah.
the sheet? So when we made the sheet, we were thinking about the most immediate things that we could do. So obviously, there's a lot to do all the way up through November. So if one of the 3 things that isn't pre-selected on there, doesn't really fit, but you're still interested in volunteering, just fill it out, but don't check a box. And we'll know that you're interested in volunteering, but these 3 things weren't hitting it for you.
Yeah, maybe Bloomington Normal is your jam.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really excited about this, and the folks in McLean County are pretty psyched about it too.
Yeah, I
David?
wanted to say that I know we've been into the weeds tonight, but the point of all this is everybody keeps on asking, what can I do? Because we feel like our country is being ripped away from us as we watch the news every day. And this is what we can do. We've got to win these elections. And that's what we're all about here. And that's why all this process is so important, like petitioning, getting the right candidates. But we got to make sure we follow through right to November. This could be our last chance to preserve democracy in this country.
And truly,
it's
and
important.
to our friend's point here about the power of the 49th Ward and what we do here, in the fair tax election, the 49th Ward had the highest yes percentage in the state.
Yes, you did.
Yes, we did.
Bring Chicago home, same thing, right? Like,
We do our job.
and I guess this is why we're talking about exporting ourselves a little bit too.
But numbers, turnout that we get, turnout is power for the committee person. Because all these votes that she takes part in the Democratic Party are weighted votes, aren't they?
Right, yes, so everything, my capacity, my vote, we have a weighted vote based on your turnout in the last primary. And so we, as a ward, actually kind of struggle a little bit because we're so transient. So we churn a lot. And so our turnout is never super great. And that impacts our weighted vote, or how much power my vote carries in that slating process. Marilyn?
Could you explain weighted vote?
Yeah, so basically, the way the vote tallying for the Cook County Democratic Party works, you get the equivalent number of votes of your Democratic primary turnout in the last election. And so there are wards where they have much higher percentage turnout, which means they've got like 20,000 votes to put in the kitty, whereas I have about 7,500.
Percentage?
It's your numbers.
Right, but the townships are geographically larger than the
Right, so
than
they
the
do- they have
wards in the
small-
city. So the like Proviso and Thornton and Bloom, you know, they've got a much higher number of weighted votes because they have more people.
Yeah, but it's based on the proportion of the vote that you turn out. And so, you know, we also have a aspirational goal, because we don't currently have somebody working on this, but getting voter registration back up and running here in the ward, finding the people as they move in, making sure that they're getting registered is something that we really do need to lean heavily into, to make sure that we keep that turnout high. Not just because I want to have a higher weighted vote, but because I want us to contribute that many more votes to the overall turnout, or the overall totals.
But
Go ahead.
the weighted vote manifests itself sometimes after an election, someone retires.
Okay, so for example, if the senator who is not up for re-election currently wins the congressional race, then there will be an appointment process.
Illinois State Senator.
Yeah, the Illinois State Senator, who's running, and there's two of them. There's one down in Hyde Park as well who's running in that congressional race, but he's not up either. So in those instances, or if a House member were to retire in the middle of the year, the committeemen from that district come together, and their weighted vote indicates who has the power to pick the replacement. But again, that's super deep in the weeds. But that's something that we are trying to stand up, and if that's something that feeds your passion, we would love to have you as a partner. Go ahead, Ivy.
My organization is a statewide organization, and I'm gonna be presenting on this at our next meeting, so do you know I know we're talking a lot about Cook County rules, does it work the same throughout the state for getting the petitions and everything?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so for example, you know, the statewide campaigns are gonna have people in every county, right? That's gonna be their organizing base, but they have the exact same petition and the exact same process in each county. Does anyone else have any other questions? Yes?
Are the high schools registering students? Is that, what are the rules around registering voters in high schools and school property?
So we have, I don't think there's anything specific to school property. Yeah,
You can register students who are gonna be 18 on the election day.
Right.
Which means you can register them when they're 17, which is why we will go into high schools.
but there's nothing preventing you from high schools from doing it. Like the high school
Right.
itself, the Student Government Association could do it. We could go in and offer that. That is an option, but you do have to be careful in terms of the 17-year-olds and make sure that they're gonna be 18 by election day.
The general election.
Yeah.
And then not the
By
Yeah.
the net,
Right.
the
Right.
But a
net.
17-year-old can vote in the primary if they will be 18 in the general.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good clarification.
Anyone else? Who's with me to make Darren LaHood cry?
Great opportunity. Bloomington Normal historically has had a very strong Democratic Party. and they are the seat of the county. And a lot of demographics have changed in that county in the last 10 to 15 years. So
Yeah.
there's a lot there.
There really is, and there's a really, really robust county party organization that has really built up over these last couple of cycles.
We drew those lines.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here. We're not going to talk remap until another event. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for being part of Saving Democracy with us.
Thank you.